Welcome, and thank you for joining Caring for Your Workplace Injury Prevention and Return to Work Essentials. This four-part training series aims to equip employers with practical knowledge and tools to effectively prevent, respond to, and manage workplace injuries, thereby supporting employee retention. The goal is to support safe work environments, ensure compliance with applicable regulations, and promote timely, successful return to work outcomes. Through these sessions, employers will gain a better understanding of their role in supporting employee well-being while reducing risk and maintaining productivity. This training is sponsored by Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services and delivered through a grant from the Minnesota Retain program. CMJTS works closely with businesses in 11 counties in central Minnesota, helping them make their business grow. We work with employers to connect them to qualified workers, connect them with employee training, including incumbent worker training, on-the-job training, work experience, and registered apprenticeships. We also help connect them with business resources and support. If you are a business in central Minnesota looking to grow and would like to learn more about the services CMJTS can provide, contact our team of business service coordinators or scan the QR code for more information on our website. The goal of this training series is simple: to give you practical tools you can use to prevent workplace injuries and respond effectively when they happen. No matter the size or type of your organization, workplace injuries can happen, but many of them are preventable. How you respond in the moment can make a big difference in achieving a successful outcome. This Caring for Your Workforce training consists of two modules. Module 1 focused on workplace prevention and response. We built the foundation, responding to injuries, reporting them, supporting recovery, and a brief introduction to return to work. If you missed those trainings, you can find them and the toolkits and resources on our website. Visit the QR code provided at the end of this training. Module 2 is where we go deeper into return to work, and what we're going to do it in a way that's specific to your industry and your operation. Today's Section 1 is for employers in low-impact environments. Offices, customer service centers, phone and data entry operations, mailing departments, administrative roles. Section 2 will cover more physical environments such as production, construction, and shipping. I want to start with something I hear constantly from employers in these industries. We don't really have physical jobs, so return to work isn't something we deal with much. I understand why that feels true, but it is not accurate, and today we will talk about why. Low-impact environments have a distinct and often under-recognized injury profile: repetitive motion injuries. Carpal tunnel, wrist and forearm tendonitis, and shoulder impingement from keyboard and mouse use are some of the most common and most costly injuries in office and service settings. They also develop the most underreported because they develop gradually and employees don't realize they may qualify for workers' comp until the damage is significant. So the first thing I want to establish: return to work applies here, probably more than you think. The three truths we need to talk about: low impact does not equal no injury risk, most existing work is suitable duty, and return to work is just as valuable here. In return to work, the work already exists. The challenge is the process. The good news is that in your environment, the return to work opportunities are abundant. Most of the work your employees do every day is already appropriate for someone with common physical restrictions. What you need is a process for identifying and documenting these opportunities, and that's what this section will give you. One of the most common things we hear from office and service employers is, "We don't really have workplace injuries here." And that belief is exactly why claims in low-impact environments tend to get worse before they get reported. Let's look at what's exactly happening on the left side of your screen, the three injury types we see most often in these settings. Repetitive motion and cumulative trauma is the big one. Carpal tunnel, wrist and forearm tendonitis, shoulder strain from keyboard and mouse use. These don't happen in a single incident. They develop over months. And because there's no clear moment of injury, employees don't know when to report. By the time they do, it's often a surgical case. Neck and upper back strain is the second leading cause of restricted duty in office roles. Prolonged sitting, poor posture, monitors at the wrong height, and ergonomic workstation audit catches most of these before they become a claim. Slips, trips, and falls still account for roughly 15% of all workers' comp claims, even in office settings. Wet entryways, cluttered walkways, uneven or slippery parking lots, and don't overlook mental and health complications. Anxiety and depression as secondary diagnoses are common in service industry claims and significantly extend recovery timelines. Watch for withdrawal and missed appointments. Those are your early warning signs. Now on the right, why do these go unreported? The first reason is that there's no single incident to point out. Gradual onset injuries are hard to report because employees don't know if they qualify. Lower that threshold. Tell your team if something has been bothering you for more than 2 days, let me know. The second is stigma. Employees in desk jobs feel their pain won't be taken seriously. Counter that directly at onboarding. Tell them explicitly that ergonomic symptoms and gradual onset conditions qualify for workers' comp. And third, the culture of pushing through. High volume calls environments reward employees for ignoring pain. Train your supervisors to ask, in their weekly check-ins, how are you feeling this week? That question does more than any posted policy ever will. In this slide, I want you to take a photo of or download it from the toolkit. When your employee comes back from the doctor with a restriction slip, this is your cheat sheet. Every row is a restriction pattern you'll commonly see, and every row shows you what's still available. For every restriction on this table, there is available work. Your job is not to say, we can't accommodate this. Your job is to look at this table and say, here is what we can offer. Complete a transitional duty task inventory. You will find the template in your resources. Complete the injury inventory before an injury recurs. This helps you identify tasks in your operation that can be performed by an employee with some of these common restrictions. You will be ready for many return to work scenarios by proactively completing this now. The restriction table we just covered tells you what's theoretically possible. This slide makes it concrete. Let's walk through 3 real roles and what transitional duty actually looks like in each one. First, the phone or customer service rep with a dominant wrist restriction, no keyboard use. This is one of the most common restrictions we see in low-impact environments, and it's also one of the easiest to accommodate. The employee can still take inbound calls, they just need a headset. They can route calls verbally, review scripts and procedures without typing, and train newer staff on processes. No keyboard required for any of it. The accommodation, voice-to-text software which is free, and a headset that runs $20 to $60. Most employers already have both. Second, the data entry or administrative employee with one hand or wrist limitation. At first glance, this sounds like it shuts everything down. It doesn't. Voice to text handles most documentation. The employee can review entries and flag corrections without entering anything themselves. They can coordinate mail sort from a seated position, manage verbal approval workflows, and handle coordination tasks that don't require typing. The key here is not to assume the job is impossible. Ask what parts of the job don't require 2 hands and start there. Third, the receptionist or front desk employee with a 30-minute sitting limit. This requires a small equipment investment and some scheduling thought, but it works. An alternating sit-stand reception post, a sit-stand riser running $30 to $150 handles the physical restriction. The employee can still manage phone triage, greet visitors, coordinate check-in, and handle lobby traffic. You're not rebuilding the job, you're adjusting one workstation. These three examples cover the most common restriction types in low-impact settings: wrist, one-hand use, and sitting limits. Your toolbox has a full roll-by-roll guideline for 3 additional examples, along with accommodation options and cost ranges for each. Low-impact environments have an advantage that production and construction employers do not. For many roles, the employee can work effectively from home during their recovery. This is a significant tool in your return to work toolkit when used correctly. The key question is, does this role require physical presence to function? For most phone, data entry, scheduling, and coordination roles, the answer is no. If the employee has a computer, a reliable internet connection, and a headset, and the role doesn't involve handling physical documents or in-person customer service, remote modified duty is a legitimate, well-documented return to work option. The financial case is strong. An employee working from home on modified duty at full salary is dramatically cheaper than an employee on temporary total disability benefits at 2/3 salary doing nothing. Some important guardrails to consider. Remote return to work is not informal. It is not just work from home for a while. All of the same requirements apply. Provide a written offer letter, restriction documentation, carrier notification, and document check-ins. 2 things I want to emphasize in particular. First, HIPAA and data security. If your role involves patient data, customer financial information, or proprietary business data, you need to verify that the home environment meets your security requirements before you send any of that data home. This is not a reason to avoid remote return to work. It's a requirement to plan it carefully. Second, virtual check-ins. The isolation of working from home during a recovery period can worsen mental health complications. A 15-minute weekly video call from the supervisor is not optional. It is part of the recovered support structure. Use the checklist on the right before you make an offer and throughout the remote period. The goal is a remote return to work that is as structured and documented as an in-person assignment, because legally it is. Let's walk through the 3-question test with examples that are real for low-impact workplaces. Question 1, can they do any part of their current job? In a low-impact environment, the answer to this question is almost always yes. This is the question that unlocks return to work in your setting. If you are not asking whether they can do everything they used to do, you are asking, is there any part of it they can still do within their restrictions? A customer service rep with a dominant wrist restriction can still take calls. They just can't type during them. That is a meaningful contribution. A scheduler with a sitting limit can still manage calendars. They just need to stand for 10 minutes every half hour. Start with what they can do. Question 2, is there another task in the business they could do? Every business I have ever visited has a list of tasks that never get done. The filing that's 3 months behind. The procedure manual that hasn't been updated in 2 years. The new employee onboarding guide that exists in one person's head. These tasks are real, valuable, and almost universally compatible with common office restrictions. When your employee comes back with restrictions that limit their primary role, ask your team what has been on the back burner. Assign the employee there. You get value, they stay connected and productive, and the claim closes faster. Question 3. Can we modify a task or role? This is the question where low-impact employers have the biggest advantage. The modifications required are almost always inexpensive. Spend 30 minutes and $100, and you often have a fully productive employee working within their restrictions. Bottom line is, if you go through these 3 questions thoughtfully, you will almost always find a return to work opportunity. The employers who think there's nothing for them to do have not done this exercise. Make it a standard step. Do it before the employee comes back from the first doctor visit. One of the biggest misconceptions about return to work in office environments is that it requires expensive equipment or major workplace modifications. The reality is that most of the accommodations that make return to work possible in a low-income environment are relatively inexpensive. Employers should consider implementing many of these ideas before an incident even happens. Some of the most impactful ones include voice to text. Windows Dictate is built into Windows 10 and 11. Google Docs has built-in voice input. Apple devices have dictation. An employee with a dominant wrist restriction who learns voice to text on day 1 of their restrictions can be back to near full productivity within a day or 2. Become familiar with this software and how to implement it before it is needed. A sit-stand riser. Employees who have lower back restrictions or sitting limits can often work a full shift if they can alternate between sitting and standing. A sit-stand riser converts any existing desk. You don't need to buy a new desk. Headsets. If you have phone-heavy roles and you don't have headsets, this is something to address regardless of return to work. Phone cradle posture, tucking the headset between your ear and shoulder, is a direct cause of neck and shoulder injuries that created your restriction patterns. A headset eliminates that posture entirely. Add a small ergonomic equipment line to your annual budget now, so you're not scrambling to find funds when the restriction comes in. Let me close with 4 challenges that come up specifically in low-impact return to work, because knowing what to watch for is half the battle. Challenge 1, the desk job assumption. Supervisors in office environments sometimes think that because the job is already sedentary, restrictions don't really change anything. Just sit at your desk and do what you can. The problem is that what you can needs to be defined by a physician's restrictions, not by the supervisor's intuition. If restrictions say no keyboard use, that means no keyboard. An employee who goes back to using the keyboard because their supervisor says you're probably fine and then re-injures, that is a claim complication with the supervisor's name on it. Train your supervisors to read and apply restrictions literally. Challenge 2, coworker dynamics. In team environments, modified duty can cause friction. Other team members see a colleague taking fewer calls, working fewer hours, or working from home, and they interpret it as favoritism. This causes peer pressure on the returning employee to push beyond their restrictions, which is a re-injury risk. Address it proactively. You cannot share the employee's medical information, but you can communicate the organization's return to work commitment. We support all employees through recovery. When you need it, we'll do the same for you. That message reframes return to work from a favor to a policy. Challenge 3, mental health. Again, this is the one that most surprises employers. In customer service and phone environments, stress is a real occupational factor. When an employee sustains a physical injury, anxiety about their job security, their income, and their recovery can develop into secondary mental health diagnoses that significantly extend the claim. The warning signs are specific. An employee who stops responding to check-in calls, who misses appointments, who seems to have withdrawn from the workplace socially. When you see these signs, escalate to your carrier's nurse case manager. An EAP referral may also be appropriate. And maintain your check-in schedule. Your consistent, genuine contact is itself a proactive factor. Challenge 4, remote work informality. Remote return to work is a powerful tool, but it requires the same documentation and carrier coordination as in-person modified duty. I have seen employers allow employees to work from home when they feel up to it during a claim, with no offer letter, no restriction documentation, no carrier notification. If that claim is disputed, the employer has no record of a structured return to work program. Make it formal. It protects both of you. You know what work is available, let's talk about exactly what you need to do from the moment restrictions come in to the employee's first day back. 6 steps in order. Skipping any one of them is where employers run into trouble. Step 1 is get the written restriction form from the treating provider, not a verbal summary, the actual document. Read it literally. No keyboard means no keyboard. Your job is to understand what it says, not interpret it loosely. Step 2, identify available work. Run the restrictions through the 3-question return to work test. Document what the employee can do and what they can't. That documentation protects you if the claim is ever disputed. Step 3, complete the written offer letter. This is the step most employers skip, and it's also the most important one. Use the suitable work offer letter template in your toolkit. Fill in every field, job title, start date, hours, pay rate, specific duties, and which restrictions you're accommodating. A complete offer letter discloses disputes before they start. Step 4, call your workers' comp carrier before the employee returns. Give them the offer letter, the restrictions, and the start date. If the employee was receiving TTD benefits, a valid offer of suitable work can stop or reduce those payments. An undocumented return is a liability. Step 5, brief the supervisor and set up the workspace. Share the restrictions, not the diagnosis, with the direct supervisor before day 1. If you need equipment in place, get it done ahead of time. Nothing undermines a return to work faster than showing up and finding nothing is ready. Step 6, monitor, document, and reevaluate. Check in at day 3 and at the end of week 1. Every new provider appointment is a trigger to ask whether restrictions changed and update your carrier accordingly. Set a reevaluation date. The goal is always a return to full duty. Regular check-ins keep that on track. Write it down, notify the carrier, and don't assume the job is done once they're back. These 3 habits protect you and support your employee. I want to leave you with 3 things to do before your next workers' comp claim opens. 1. Complete the transitional duty task inventory for your operation. It is in your toolkit, and it will take about 30 minutes, and it saves you hours of improvisation the next time you have an employee on restrictions. 2. Identify 2 or 3 low-cost accommodations to have on hand. A sit-stand riser, a few headsets, an ergonomic mouse. Having these available means you can offer modified duty the day the employee comes back from the doctor. 3. Brief your supervisors on restriction reading and the 3-question test. This is a 20-minute conversation, and it will change how they respond the next time an employee gets hurt. Coming up in Module 1, Section 2, we move into physical environments: production, construction, shipping, and trades. Different injury patterns, different return to work challenges, and a very different set of questions to ask. I hope you will join us. Everything we've covered today: the task inventory, the offer letter template, the medical restrictions tracking form, is in your employee resource toolkit. And if you want one-on-one support building a return to work program for your specific operation, our business service coordinators are available at no charge. Scan the QR code for more information. Thank you.